Bloomberg Audio Studios. Podcasts, radio, news.
This is the Closing Bell on the Stock Movers Report. The companies making moves at the close of U.S. trading with Carol Massar, Tim Stenovec, Romaine Bostick, and Scarlett Fu.
All right, let's get to some of the individual gainers. And I got to say, it's not names that I necessarily talk about a lot. Fair Isaac. All right, just before you judge, listen up. Fair Isaac, you know the ticker FICO, FICO. That one up as much as 32% in today's session, finishing with a gain of just shy of 18%. This surging number one gainer in the S&P 500 after saying it will now sell credit scores directly to mortgage resellers. So it's a move that sent shares of third-party credit bureaus, Equifax and TransUnion plunging. So some changes there in that dynamic and selling of credit scores. Here's another one we don't talk about a lot, guys, but it caught my attention. It has to do with Microsoft's deal with the neo-cloud company Nebius Group, NV. It's going to provide computing power to internal teams creating large language models and a consumer AI assistant, according to folks familiar. So the arrangement, which is worth about $19.4 billion, sparked a rally in Nebius shares again. Ticker NBIS. We don't talk about it a lot. Up just about 9% in today's session. This deal apparently outlined in early September. Yeah. But the announcement, there wasn't a lot of the specifics on it. When it was announced, though, the shares in the U.S., the ADRs jumped about 50% on September 9th. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm into the story. I mean, good one, Carol.
Well, because the ADRs are up 335%.
But it gets to this idea, sort of like, of the idea of what options these companies have. I mean, we had the CoreWeave CEO on last week, and there was this whole idea that they were kind of, to a certain extent, the only game in town. Obviously, we know there are other companies, including Nebius and a couple others, but not a whole lot to go around, particularly when you take into account just how much capacity a company like Microsoft or Meta or Alphabet needs.
Right. So they're searching, right? Hence these neo-cloud companies certainly stepping up. Hey, one more too. I think I mentioned it yesterday, AST Space Mobile. This one has been on a tear, rallying in the last couple of days, up another 16% today after gaining 16%.
Did you guys interview the CEO earlier?
The president, actually.
The president, okay.
It's really kind of fascinating. This is, you think about satellites up in the air and you think about Elon Musk and you think about SpaceX, but there are other players, including Amazon and AST Space Mobile. And this is a company that has been kicking up satellites into the air, kind of low orbit, but it's also all about really reaching kind of the cellular space. And this one has just been on a tear.
Yeah, they're partnering with AT&T and Verizon, whereas SpaceX's Starlink has partnered with T-Mobile. And he was telling us that the signal can actually get through one wall. So like if you're in a building somewhere, it can get through one wall. So it's not going to get in like a cell phone can, but better than, if you have a Garmin or something and you're inside, it doesn't necessarily work. So sort of better technology.
This is another outperformer this year. It's up about 200% year to date. Right now, though, 20% of the float is short.
Well, let's talk about some decliners. I want to talk about the biggest decliner on a points basis in the S&P 500. That would be Tesla, down 5.1%. Interestingly enough, shares were up as much as 2.5% earlier in the session, then turned lower. The company did report a surprise record quarter of vehicle sales. This as U.S. consumers accelerated EV purchases before those federal tax credits expired. Still, though, analysts are concerned about what things look like moving forward. Garrett Nelson over at CFRA said, looking forward, we still think there are major questions regarding the earnings impact of legislative changes on the tradable emissions credit market and EV demand in an unsubsidized U.S. market. Shares down 5.1% today. The second worst performer on a percentage basis in the S&P 500, that goes to Occidental Petroleum. Shares fell more than 7% today after the company agreed to sell its OxyChem petrochemical unit to Berkshire Hathaway for about $9.7 billion in cash. Analysts did note that the sale is below the $10 billion that they had been expecting. Also, Vicky Holub, the company's CEO, came out and said that the focus is now on organic growth after using about $6.5 billion of the proceeds from this sale to reduce principal debt at the company. Once again, Oxy shares down 7.3%. And finally, Equifax, off of what Carol was saying, Equifax down 8.5%. It is the worst performer in the S&P 500 today. Shares of credit reporting companies, including Equifax, plunged after Fair Isaac announced this new program that gives mortgage lenders the option to calculate and distribute FICO scores directly to customers. It's a major shift in how FICO scores are delivered in the mortgage industry.
Let's take a quick look at yields. A mixed day here. You did did see the longer end of the curve continue to see yields move lower for the third day this week. Meanwhile, on the shorter end, you did see a slight uptick in yields. But we should just point out one of the fallouts of the government shutdown is because of that lack of data, volume in the Treasury market is incredibly light. Of course, remember, volume typically spikes around some of those big government data releases. And of course, not getting the weekly jobless claims today, and of course, not getting the monthly jobless unemployment numbers tomorrow here. So just take some of the price action with a bit of a grain of salt.
The Stock Movers Report from Bloomberg Radio. Check back with us throughout the day for the latest roundup of companies making news on Wall Street. And for the latest market-moving headlines, listen to Bloomberg Radio live. Catch us on YouTube, Bloomberg.com, and on Apple CarPlay and Android Auto with the Bloomberg Business app.